half a second to come in. We all know how the
Yeah.
lag time tends to be.
No, of course.
Super super excited to have you, man. I'm excited to
Yeah,
have this
thanks for having me.
conversation. This is dope. This is dope. So what's going on, y'all? My name is Jay Faith. This is Right Mind Wednesdays, where we just simply sit down, have a conversation, talk about music, mental health, fitness, and financial support. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram, YouTube, all that fun stuff. Make sure that you're staying tuned in to what we have going on. All of our special guests that tune in every single Wednesday at 7:30. For those of you that are watching now, for those of you that will watch later, make sure you subscribe, tune in. A lot of vital information that is being dropped each and every single time we do this show, which makes me super excited every time that I hit the go stream button on here. It's super dope, just to be able to hear people's experiences and to share them with other people and hopefully connect and just allow people to grow in whatever it is that they're trying to do. Now, without further ado, not to sound like I'm rhyming, even though I am a rapper, um, tonight is not about me. It's about the man that is sitting to my right, whatever direction you're sitting on. Um, I'm gonna let the man introduce himself. How's it going, Scotty Flippin? What's going on, man?
It's going good. It's going good. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Scotty Flippin. I'm a beat maker, producer, trying to learn like the engineering side of it too. So I'm just, I'm all about the production side of it. Um, I'm still fairly new. I mean, I've been doing it for a little while, but there's always something to learn. I'm always trying to, pick people's brains or, just improve. So, yeah, this is something I really enjoy doing. Right now, it's more of a hobby, but I'm trying to get to the point where I may be able to turn this into a smaller career or maybe something I can do as I'm older. Um, but for the most part, it's just it's just some fun stuff that I've been doing my whole life. I just happen to be, you know, uh, connecting with a lot of people now uh, through the internet and through social media. So um, I feel like I'm not in a little box anymore where I used to be my whole life just making stuff. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, seriously, thanks for having me. This is a really honor. This is my first podcast, so thank you.
Word, word. Glad to break that. What was I gonna say? Yeah, that's super dope, man. It's cool to to see somebody coming up, especially with producing. What was it like for you? I see you've been like connecting with a lot of different people as far as music goes. You've been connecting with different artists. What's that experience been like, especially somebody that's slowly building themselves into the game?
Right. Well, it's kind of necessary um, because part of a community, you're really not going to grow as as a person, as a like I said, if you're what I was saying, like being in that box, kind of by yourself, you can only learn so much. You're not going to get the feedback, um, and I don't know. I just think the more of a community you can build, whether it's other producers, other artists, just people who enjoy like what you're doing. So if you're doing hip hop, you want to be in a hip hop community, and social media allows that. I'm not the most outgoing person. I try to get out
Same
to
here.
events and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, I think that's probably personally gravitated more to the production side of it. I mean, I feel like everybody at a certain age they want to be a rapper, right? When they hear their favorite artist, like when I was growing up in the late '80s, early '90s, and we just getting that, first taste of that real hip hop that was making it up here to Massachusetts. I mean, it had been out before, but really it just didn't have the same impact or the same influence that it had in like New York or on the West Coast. So,
Mhm.
growing up and hearing all these different artists and things like that, you realize that it's a big world out there, and if you're not part of a community and you kind of isolate yourself, you're not going to. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to anything, is just giving yourself the ability to grow, and don't be, don't stop yourself from being able to network, because you're just doing yourself a disservice if you're not getting your name out there and not meeting other people. Yeah, it's huge. It's a big thing to connect with other people. It really is.
Yeah, that's definitely a conversation that definitely keeps coming up with a lot of people that we've had these conversations with. It's that's the probably one of the biggest things to getting yourself out there is really, it's not even so much, although it is important, the social media aspect of it, but really like networking with people, like actually connecting with people, having those conversations and really talking with people in order to, again, like you said, like make those connections and build that community, because otherwise you're just that outlier and everybody's kind of just looking at you from the outside going, well, he's over there, like we're all over here chilling,
Right.
just building up music and the community. And I couldn't agree more. That's so important. Community is definitely, whether it's hip hop community or just your city community, those things are so important and valuable.
Right. I mean, and if you think about it, if you have a restaurant, right, but nobody knows about it, and you have great food, what's the point?
Right.
No one's coming to your restaurant to eat. You have all this great food that you could make, all these people that could become either customers, or you know if they don't know about you, if you're not connecting, however you decide to connect, whether it's through just hitting people up, going to events, supporting other people's um supporting other people's art and creativity. It's just it it makes sense, but some people don't really get that right off the bat. They want that instant like fame or celebrity, or they just want to just download a DAW and just get after it without any kind of without knowing what they're doing. And people, it's a process, and part of the process is building your community and building up your relationships, because every relationship that you build is just like another bridge that can get you somewhere else, and
Facts.
vice versa for that other person. And why wouldn't, if you're a producer or you're making beats, naturally the best audience that you could have would be rappers. you know
For
so
sure. For
connect with
sure.
rappers. They're going to give you the best feedback too. They're going to let you know what kind of beats that they like. So if you're making all these beats, you have 1,000 beats and no one ever hears them, how do you know which ones are good or which ones are what people are looking for? And sometimes the best beats you make, or you think you make, rappers hear them, they're like, that's cool, this other beat you did. So it's another way to get feedback too on how you're doing going, and it just creates opportunities. So it's like a no-brainer. Gotta connect with people. You just gotta do it.
Yeah, you gotta be vulnerable sometimes,
Yeah.
whether producer or rapper. It's like you gotta be willing to put your music out there and test the waters and just see how things go, and be okay with receiving that, hopefully constructive criticism. It's only motivation to help you grow. Like again, just to reiterate what you're saying, it just
Yeah.
helps you to grow in that aspect, instead of just me. I'm a super introvert sometimes, and I want to get out a lot more and hit these shows and can and really network, but sometimes it's just the introvert that I am. Sometimes like I'm just comfortable, just chilling, in my own space and
Yeah.
doing what I do. But there is, and it's not to negate, there is so much value in getting out there and networking. And I have conversations with people all the time, and telling them, man, like, I know I don't get out there as much as I would like to, but if there's anything that I can do, and again, it's something as simple as sharing something on Instagram or Facebook, or shouting people out, somehow, it goes a long way. People don't think it does, but
It
like
does.
to me, like a simple Instagram share, like, bro, like if I share if you share something of mine, it goes to, your 1,000 followers, your 2,000 followers, and then if I share something of yours, that goes to my 2,000 followers. Well, you just opened up your fan base to, 2,000 more people than you probably had before. It's only beneficial.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's easier to build something when you build it with other people. So you're right. You get your fans, you get their. It's necessary, and people want to. Some people want to put in the work, some people don't. But that is part of the work. So
For
to
sure.
overlook that or skip that, it's like you're skipping a very important part, in my opinion. I mean, if you want to sit, some people want to make the lo-fi um, productions, and they just want to post it to SoundCloud and Spotify. That's their lane.
Hmm.
It's cool. If you want rappers on your beats, you want
Yeah.
a bigger audience. I mean, it's just what you said. You collaborate, and you feed off of each other and together. I think that's a good thing with people. Like you said, if you have 1,000 or 2,000, you want to maybe link up with some people that are kind of in the same place, same space that you are together, and that's you just can't skip to being. You can't be a new producer or a fairly new producer, and then all of a sudden just hit up like Nas and be like, hey, let's do something. Let's network. He's
Right.
probably not going to even read your DM. So
Probably not.
you got to be humble, and you just got to know where your lane is and where it starts, and then take the journey with people who are on the same path that you are and work together.
Yeah, it's all about the growth, man. I was talking to NSL Collective, and again, I say this for multiple reasons. I'm gonna try to keep it short, but we talked about like starting, just finding a starting point, and then just building from there. So many people, like you said, try to reach for that like fame and success so quickly and so early without hitting those middle steps. um so point number one, and then point number two is I'm just glad to hear more and more people that are speaking in that like mind, because I know when I was coming up, in the music industry, that's I started when I was 16, and then kind of officially built myself around 23. It was all about just me, not me specifically, but just like the way the atmosphere was
Mm-hmm.
when it came to other artists. It was like, no, I'm building over here. you know you can't come in my circle unless you do some outrageous A, B, or C. Versus like now I'm just seeing a lot more artists that are just like, dude, like let's just build. Like, you want to make music, I want to make music. You want to put on a show, I want to put on a show. Let's figure out how we can do that together.
Yep.
It's I'm seeing so many more community, again, like in the hip hop community based things that are being built to help facilitate those things. I mean, you got Hustle Killer, who's been, putting on shows. You got Done Booking in New Hampshire that puts on shows. Speaking from my atmosphere, but like Done Booking puts on producers. They do a producer showcase, before each show, so it gives just so many different opportunities. Um, for artists, and a lot of the times it's let's just get the artists on stage and just let them rock out, and you know network with the other artists, network with the producers, and let's keep it moving, man. Let's just continue to build and grow.
I agree. And I speak for everybody that's out there, but Massachusetts, from what I found, Boston, greater Boston area, there seems to be a lot of people that are interested in doing that exact same thing and working together, growing together, putting on shows. Um, I think people who are getting into this right now, this is a perfect time if you're from the area, whether it's New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. Um, this area it's up and coming. I don't think people give it
Hmm.
enough credit, but there are just so many things now. There is a scene being built. For the most part, what I've seen, it's positive. I've seen a couple of negative things, but you know what? for the most part,
comes with it.
the negative things highlighted, right, in life.
Yeah, of course.
You look at reviews on Amazon or for a restaurant, of course there's going to be more. There's going to be a 1 and 2 stars because people, when they're upset, that's when they tend to take it out on social media or some kind of like
Yeah.
Reddit or whatever it is where they can give reviews. You don't hear about all the positive stuff. It's just like the news too. You always hear the bad things. But yeah, Massachusetts, Boston, I think this is the place to be. This is the time to be. And if people want to just help each other and support, it's the place and it's the time.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a shift, especially like probably like mid COVID to like now, just like a huge shift in that support aspect. It's like, especially, and I speaking, the Boston, Massachusetts, even the New England scene,
Yeah.
it seems like, we're really trying, like, there's so many amazing and talented people in this area, and like everyone is just like, dude, how do we figure out how to get like everybody on the map? New York's got their people, Atlanta's got their people, LA's got their people.
Yep.
And it's like Boston has been like just Boston and Massachusetts has just been like just under that like peak level of being that like staple. And again, there's so many amazing people that have come out of Boston already.
Yeah.
Boston and Massachusetts. I tie those two in together just, as we're speaking. But like there's been so many talented people, like, just speaking hip hop, you got like Millie's, you got oh God, what's his name? Millie's, you got Slane, you have, oh my God, I can't even think of his name. Jeez.
Well, I mean, even old school, you had Ed, OG. I mean,
Yeah.
you had Guru. I mean, right there, those are 2 legends already. I mean, there have been a ton of
Right.
people in between. Then you want to go up to Lawrence, you got Terminology, you got Rex.
Term. Yeah. Shout out to Term.
I mean, there's plenty out there. And they're quality. It's not just like, oh, it's a local thing. These people are international, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know that they're not only listened to within the New England states. They're out there, and people have been listening to them.
Yeah. Token, Joyner Lucas, like
Yeah.
Joyner was the one I was trying to think of. I don't know why the name just literally just floated over my head. But
I'm sure there's a million names in there.
yeah, facts. But there's so many talented people, and even under the bar of your Tokens, your Joiners, and Terms, and stuff like that. Like there's still like so many dope artists, and like they just need that opportunity and that networking connection to be able to like just get out there, like that they deserve it. They've been putting in the work, they've been networking. It's not like they're just sitting on the sidelines waiting for something to happen, twiddling their thumbs. Like they're really like putting in the effort, the money, the equity, the time, to get out there, and like you said, I just see a shift in the Boston and Massachusetts, just culture of hip hop and just where people are, and they're just like, nah, like we're ready to get Boston and Massachusetts and New England on the map of really dope creators.
Absolutely. And I want to say that when I first started doing this, when I would search like Boston hashtags and stuff like that, there wasn't a ton. Like everything just seemed like it was just starting out. Or maybe it's just because when I jumped into it, I didn't know enough. But I just did like a lot of hashtag Boston hip hop to find things. And as the years went, just more stuff popped up. More stuff was popping up. I'm like, okay, there's definitely a scene here. Maybe people aren't ready to accept it, or maybe there's just too much of that old blood that just looks at hip hop as,
Yeah.
to look at it with a crooked eye and they're like, hip hop. But there's so many closet hip hop people that people don't know. Like your next door neighbor's like pumping it, and you're like, oh, this is just regular old Al driving his Volvo. When Al's driving around
Right.
like up and down Route 24, he's got he's got a sub kick in, and he's probably like
Yeah.
reciting the lyrics to all these songs you would never guess. I just think in general, when it comes to Massachusetts, I think in New England we were a little behind for a while, and I just
Mm-hmm.
think that the makeup of the people that live here, the less open-minded. But I feel like, and I see it with my own kids, I see it with people younger than me, way more minded than when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. Just some of the things I saw and heard, and people would just say, I'm just like, ugh. It kind of like makes my skin crawl when I think about how people were back in like the late 80s and 90s, just their
Yeah.
attitudes towards African Americans, just minorities in general, the hip hop culture. Like, they equated it with being a bad person. It's like, it's not true. But for
Mm-hmm.
some people,
No.
they you just can't change their minds. So
No.
you move on. You find like-minded people, people that want to be part of that circle, and you jump in and you work with them. And unfortunately, the other people have to be left behind, and that's too bad for them. But I think we're definitely going in the right direction when it comes to building that culture in New England, and it's going to be great. I think like 10, 15 years from now, we're going to see a lot more of it. Like a lot of these, like you said, Toke and people like that who are coming up, be a little bit more household names than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good thing that I'm seeing from where I sit, and I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I think if we continue in the progressive incline that we're in right now, I think like you said, like 10, 15 years, I think we'll be like another Atlanta. I think we'll be another LA. I think we'll be another New York where it's just like, where do you want to find some of the dopest artists? Again, they're there. It's just getting it to branch out. But I,
Right.
I think in 10, 15 years, it's just going to be like Boston, New York, Atlanta, LA, like that, Chicago. I don't want to miss on Chicago. That's where you're going to find artists. Like that's where you want to go. That's where you want to go to perform, like key, and that's where you're going to find the artists, that you want on your next album.
Yep, I agree. You got to start
Very
in your own
cool.
backyard, and if you can, if the support, and you can build like a fan base, um, and you can work with some dope people, get your name out there, and it's good for everybody. It's good for everybody in the area, because I think it breaks down misconceptions of Massachusetts, New England, Boston, and it kind of
Hip
sheds
hop.
light on the things that are going on. People probably wouldn't believe some of the things that are going on here. The producer community is incredible. All the MCs that are just getting out there and getting back into things, and there's a lot. There's enough for everybody else. Name. It's not all going to happen overnight, but the first group that kicks in that door and opens it up for everybody else will have the opportunity to follow. It depends on how passionate everybody is and the work they want to put in. But I've been very impressed with a lot of the MCs and just a lot of the producers, podcast things that are about the hip hop culture. Um, being very consistent, and building that consistent following, and getting the just opening people's eyes to what is going on here, because it's a good thing that's going on. It's genuine. It's not forced. We're not forcing hip hop on people. People are coming out to shows because they want to, because they like it. It's the
Yeah.
music that they like. A lot of people grew up on it, and um, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't really have a lot of other friends that wanted to listen to hip hop, and then I just made another group of friends, and that group of friends liked a little hip hop a little bit more than the first group of friends, um,
Yep.
and it's gonna keep growing. And like I said before, if you're ready, if you're a new producer, or even a producer who's put in some work, or an MC, it's time. It's just time to go for it, especially if COVID can kind of just like stay out of our way, if that can happen,
Seriously,
there's going to
seriously,
be a
for
lot of
like
big
five
things
minutes.
happening this summer.
Yeah, for 5 minutes, just like take
Just go, just
take a
no
break,
more, please,
take a
COVID.
summer off or
Ruining,
something. Yeah,
ruining a lot of things for a lot of people.
yeah, for sure. But I was telling people, I think it was to me. This is my own personal opinion. I think COVID was for some artists who, and I say artists as in people who are ready to work, ready to, to do whatever it is. I think COVID was a blessing and a curse because,
Hmm.
yeah, we lost, a lot of people to war. That's money out of their pockets. Obviously you can't connect face to face, things of that nature. But I think on the flip side, it gave those artists time to really like map out what they want
Hmm.
to do. And I think those artists, like, I believe that we're seeing the results of that now. Like all those artists that were just already hungry and motivated, they were like, I'm going to use this time to just set myself up so when things start opening up again, like I'm ready to just go. And I think
Yep.
we're seeing that. I think we're seeing that now, the product of that, from those artists and the build and the people like, yo, like, I think people lost out on that sense of community. So now that everything is back open, they're like, dude, like we can't go through that again. We got to keep this community together. We got to keep helping people build and grow and just keep this moving because we're kind of lost without it. I think we realized how lost we were through the COVID, and the lockdowns and stuff like that, to now being, semi back open. I think we're finally like, okay, like we understand what we need to do now, and like we couldn't be more hungry than ever.
I agree. And just to piggyback on what you were just saying,
Hmm.
a lot of the things that have gone on since COVID started, um, people became extremely creative and resourceful, and the people that were hungry, like you said, they continued to do something,
Yep.
whether it was a live stream or podcast or just something through social media or something creative that still got their brand out there, still had them connecting with people. And you're right, set it up for now. Oh, we're going to have a show and we're
Hmm.
going to do maybe a little New England tour. And it gave people like a year and a half, 2 years to actually connect with these people. And now you have this audience that really wants to get out and see some of these
Yeah.
shows in person. Um, it's almost like you got to watch your favorite well, everyone did. You got to watch your favorite Netflix shows
Yep.
2 years straight, but now you can actually go out and meet the people in the shows and maybe watch like a live performance. I think that is, like you said, a blessing in disguise. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm very interested to see how the summer goes. I think people are just gonna be out of their minds trying to get into the public and get out of their houses and just reconnect, just being out and feeling safe being out and being around other people, which is huge because if you're human, you need social.
Right.
No, it doesn't matter. Like I'm an
Seriously.
introvert. You said you were one, but we still, once we force ourselves or we kind of get through that little hurdle that prevents us from always wanting to go out and meet people. Once you get over that, you realize this is a good thing. I mean,
100%.
two or 3 months ago, on a whim, B Club was having a live at the Jungle, and it was their
Dope. I love that.
first one of the year. And put my kids to bed. I looked at my wife. I was like, I'm going. Like, sorry, I'm just going.
Yep.
They're about an hour late, but I got to see about an hour and a half. Got to see people I hadn't seen in a long time. Got to see a bunch of people that I was friends with on Instagram that I had never actually met in person. So that was kind of weird at first because you're like, that looks like the person I saw on the, and you actually see them in person. Like, wow, he's taller. Like, wow, I thought he was taller.
Yeah.
Just the action of people. it's funny because
Yeah.
people with big personalities, when you meet them, you expect them to also be like big, and then certain quiet people, sometimes you equate that with not being as big. But I found it complete opposite.
Mhm.
A lot of the bigger, taller people, and I don't know why I just did that, but a lot of the bigger, taller people were some of the more quiet, reserved people, and then a lot of the people that
Mhm.
were just, boisterous and loud. They were like, oh, I thought it just his personality is so big, so I thought he was big. I don't know. To me, that was just a weird thing. I'd make these weird assumptions about height. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know why. I don't know where that comes from. But yeah, getting back out there is going to be a trip for some people. Some people, it's something they need to do and just get out there.
Yeah, it's so weird. I was. It's funny too you said that because I was at a show at the Jungle recently, and somebody that was there, there was only a couple of us there, so we were all just kind of just chatting away, and they were like, "Oh, you're Jay Faith? Oh yeah, I follow you on Instagram." And I was like, "Wait, like, take the mask down for a second, like," and I'm like, "Oh, like, it's so like so weird to like see people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I follow you," and I'm like, "Ah, it's just like a weird." It's like almost like putting that name to a face type of deal. You're just like, a name to the Instagram, like, oh, I know you as, you know, XYZ hip hop kid, but like no, you actually have like a name in real person, and I can actually put, your Instagram tag to the face.
No, it's funny. It is a funny thing because you can meet someone, friends with them 2 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, never actually meet them in person.
Yep.
So I mean, that's great because I've definitely met people from just Atlanta, Tennessee, people from Canada, people that I just chop it up with here and there. Um, Learned a few things from just people that will support you and repost stuff. But it's people from your own city, so your same area, and you actually go out and see. It's kind of like,
Hmm.
do I say something? How do I approach this? Do I say I
Right.
follow you? Do you recognize me?
Yeah.
Which was kind of
Yeah.
the weird thing because I walked up and I'd just be like, hey, and they would know who I was. So I felt a little bit better that they recognized me.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just I don't know. It's funny because this is not that I was used to do it. Usually you get on Instagram or Facebook, whatever, and you kind of know the people already that you're friends with, so
Hmm.
you've met them before. You'll see them again at some point at a reunion or wherever, or somebody that you've had a relationship with, and then all of a sudden you flip the script a little bit, and you're following people that you don't know, actually meet them, and you're like, okay, this is another way that a relationship building can work, and it actually might be safer and easier to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny too. Turntable Teachers, who is an affiliate of Right Mind, Mike over there, him and I have we've done like, live streams like this. I've done interviews with him a couple times, but we never met in person. And this is like a 2 year, work relationship that we've had, and grown into a friendship, into
Yeah.
a true friendship. But like we had never met, and then finally, COVID had let up, and then I had a show at the Jungle, and he showed up, and I was like, dude, I had no idea you were that tall. Like I thought you were just like you said, like this.
Right.
Definitely thought he was shorter, and I was like, dude, bro, like you're like 2 inches taller than I am, and
No,
definitely did not
it
expect
messes
that
with your
at
mind
all.
because you'll usually only see them from like
Oh,
you don't
weird.
have any perspective.
Yeah,
Just
like the chest
from
up,
like their
like yeah,
shoulders up, or
no perspective.
no perspective at all to your next to them, and you're like, okay, you're a dude.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Um, so what got you into like producing? What like
Okay.
what's like the origin story of producing for you?
Okay. Well, let's go back to Christmas Day, 1985, and I got my first
Okay.
Casio.
Okay.
So it was, I don't know if this is everyone's story. I feel like a lot of people tell the same story, but I started messing around with we had a piano in the house, so I'd always mess around with the piano. I was always interested in playing guitar, but something always drew me to like the recording part of it.
Mm,
Um, when you're younger, yeah, play date like that. But you do spend a lot of just time by yourself and trying to entertain yourself. So when I couldn't go out, I had the dual, the boombox with the dual cassette recorders. So I would
Yep.
record on one and then flip the tapes and then overdub on the other one. So kind of like building the tracks that way, kind of like you would in a DAW, but just doing one by one. And I started doing that. I don't know what I was making back then. Who knows? I wish I had some of those tapes. So that was kind of like, I was very interested in music. I would listen to Beatles and I would listen to it with my headphones on, and I noticed like things would pan to the left, things would pan to the right, and I would learn how to count the measures, and I didn't know if I was doing it right, but it all kind of made sense. Like, you know, the 4 bars, 8 bars, 12, like everything was in like 4s or 8s. Just started listening to stuff like that, and then, you know, fast forward to, who knows, late 90s. My friend and I were sitting around one day. I think it was like the hard life like era, and we listening to Jay-Z a lot at that point, and he and I just looked at each other one day like, doesn't your mom have a drum machine or in your house somewhere? And we checked with his mom, she threw it away. So we were kind of disappointed, but at that point I'm like, I can just, you know, I'll just go buy something. Got a keyboard, just started messing around with it. Didn't really know what I was doing. Got the little Tascam 4-track with the tapes. Me and my friends kind of fooled around with it. Did that for a few years. Put out a couple of albums that no one ever gets to hear because they weren't that good. But it was like, you learn the process, which I found to be important when I started taking it serious a couple of years ago. So basically, just the love of music, wanting to do stuff, just a way to do stuff with my friends. You know, we'd play sports together, we'd hang out together, make some music together. You know, you get drunk, do whatever. Just seeing, you know, someone's on the keyboard, someone's recording it. You know, you listen to the next thing, you're like, wow, what was that? But just learning the actual process though from the ground up without really asking anybody about it, and then taking those experiences, like things here and there that you learned, and then to hear like a producer on like a YouTube video talk about the same thing, it's like, wow, I had that experience to a much extent and not like wasn't taking it serious when I was first doing it, but now I can kind of apply some of those ideas to what I want to do now. And it took me getting, you know, laid off from my job to really have the time to figure it out. And just to learn that I didn't need the most expensive computer. I didn't need the most expensive DAW or plugins or any of that stuff. Just start simple, learn. And I got a lot of good feedback from people that I wasn't friends with, because sometimes your friends yes you to death. And I got a lot of very constructive feedback that made me think like you're really not that good yet. But if you take what these people are saying and apply the old message and don't take it personally, because if you have strong feelings about yourself and you think that you are not able to receive feedback, then you're probably not going to be successful in much. So once I started getting out there and just submitting like tracks to different shows and running things by people that weren't necessarily just going to yes you to death, that really gives you the like kick in the butt to keep going. And some people don't. Some people don't want to keep going because they're just too bullheaded or whatever the phrase is. So yeah, I know I strayed from the question a little bit, but we got to the
point. No, you're
where,
good, man. It's
okay. So yeah, just basically the starting young, the love of music, just being very interested in recording and being able to manipulate the sounds and layer tracks and things like that was, it was just very interesting to me because I would listen to like different genres, and the one thing that I found that was always consistent was just the stereo fields were not always the same. The left and the right weren't always the same. Like that's obviously for a reason. And just learning about that's just so interesting. I don't even know if I was more into wanting to be like a rapper or a producer, but I being the introvert, I think the production side of it and the ability to make things and fix them as you go along, as you know, maybe doing a live show where the show must go on. You make a mistake, you just keep going. Maybe the
Yeah.
perfectionist side of me found that appealing, because if I did make something wrong, or if something was just a little bit off, I could go back and fix it and, you know, make it sound the way I wanted to. Um, but yeah, it's just, I mean, I feel like for everybody, that's the love of music. You love it because when you were younger, it was introduced to you in a certain way. And then as you kind of like develop your own sense of what you like and want to go with it. And yeah, I was blessed to have the freedom to be able to just listen to music whenever I
Yeah.
wanted, because I know some parents are really strict, or, you know, you just, some people, parents overprogram their kids, so they don't have time to just sit and chill. But I had plenty of time to sit and chill and appreciate music growing up. So I think that's kind of paid off, you know, going forward in my life.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely started in a good era, especially Hard Knock Life era. That's definitely a great era to pick it up. But you know, I can definitely
Yeah.
agree with what you're saying as far as, you know, picking up those little pieces. One, you know, on the album that I'm working on, you know, I started getting into the arrangements of everything, and it really got me to listen more to the beat, and in the sense of like understanding like how layered beats can be, and it only improved my adornment of producers and the things that they have to do, because you know I'm arranging these beats and I'm like hearing all these sounds that are in the, you know, within the beat in one of the layers, and like things that I never took into account ever, you know. And
Right.
then to be able to like hear those things separate, and then once it's all together, like it started getting my ears tuned into, you know, hearing those instruments a little bit louder than, you know, just, you know, just listening to a beat. And like, you know, again, always going back to, you know, things that you've said, being able to, you know, pan the left and the right, and you know, hearing those different things and why it goes that way and why people do it that way. Like it gives such clarity, and it's like such a weird but like cool feeling, you know, to understand why those things happen. And like it just gives
Right.
you like almost like you, like your mind, you know, that, you know, they say we use like 10% of our brain, but then, you know, like when you learn those things, like it boosts you up to like 15, and you just feel like like this big genius that has like opened up the gateway of knowledge
All of
for
a
yourself.
sudden, you're just like, wow, now it's all making sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
you just see like a whole nother world. You're just like, oh, okay. Oh, I didn't even know that was there, but it was right in front of me the whole time.
Well, I think that kind of goes to, there are some people that were just meant to be consumers of music, which is fine,
Hmm.
because not everybody has the passion to be creative. But once you do move past that, you know, consumer, and you start to, it's almost like you're trying to reconstruct some of the favorite things that you've experienced through music, and you try to make it your own. You go from consumer to creative to producer to, you know, it's, you have a better appreciation. And then sometimes when you start listening back to things that you know, say like in like old Nas, or even Jay-Z, or even before that, you listen to some of the Ice Cube or Tupac, and you go back and you start hearing things, you definitely have a much better appreciation of how that was put together. And you can only guess how it was put together. Um, but you can kind of have an idea of like, oh, this is what they did here, or maybe they EQ'd this a little. Like, just so many things start going through your minds where you're like picking every little thing apart, almost to the point where you can't listen to something without listening to it like
Yeah.
two or three, because you want to hear the hi-hat one more time. Was it on
Hmm.
the left side? Was it the right? Was it stereo spread? Like, what was the bounce on it, or what was the swing? Like, stuff you don't even think about when you're just listening. Then you start to break it down in your head. You're like, I have to listen to that again. And it's kind of
Hmm.
cool. It's kind of cool, but then sometimes you can't just sit back and listen anymore. You have to like
Yeah.
just like
Analyze
completely rip it
everything.
apart and figure out what they did. And it doesn't take the fun out
Yeah.
of it, but it just makes you listen to it different in just a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every time I hear like new music or just like different types of music, like I first instantly go into like judgment mode of like,
Yep.
all right, I'm gonna start critiquing this now. Like, what's missing? What's not? Where's that beat? Where's your lyrics falling in between the pocket? You know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, like, shut up and just sit back and enjoy the music.
It's hard though. It's hard. Like
Hmm.
you can enjoy it, but you just enjoy it in a different way where it's more interesting because you kind of have like some inside secrets in how it was created, and I think
Hmm.
that's natural for anybody in any kind of whether it's a hobby or something that you're working to get better at. Think about kids when they are watching, um, whoever it was, say Michael Jordan. When I was growing up, when we were watching Michael
Hmm.
Jordan, if you didn't play basketball, it was really cool to watch. If you played basketball, every single time you went out to the basketball court, you were trying to copy or replicate or do something that Michael Jordan had just done. And you weren't just
100%.
watching,
I was that kid.
you weren't just watching it, you were taking notes while you were watching, like, I'm going to try this. And none of us have actually been able to recreate Jordan and Kobe. Um, so I think it's very similar. It's just a way of learning. And people like to learn through trial and error and experimentation. I mean,
Have
you
to.
can learn through reading. People can tell you how to play basketball. Here's a basketball book. Read. No, the best way to do it is
Yeah.
go out and play. The best way to get better at music is go and do it.
Seriously, experiment. That's like been like the best things that I've learned from other people that have taught me different things. Like a buddy of mine, he was leaving out of state, and I was working on a song, and I was like, I don't know, man, like I'm like stuck on this one part, and he was like, dude, sometimes what I do for some of my songs is I stand like 5 feet away from the mic and I just yell, and it just gives like a different ambiance. And I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And like I did that, and it like completely changed the aura of how the song came out. And like
Mm-hmm.
I would never, again, it's like one of those pieces like I would never think was in there until somebody explained it, and I learned those little intricate things of those layers that are in there. Again, we as consumers, we always hear like the final products completely together. But as artists and producers, you have to learn those layers of how things are
Right.
set up, because it makes such a difference. Like when I was learning, lyricism and lyrics, and learning, different styles and formats and way people rapped, like it made me appreciate, some of the older cats that were doing hip hop, and in the 90s and 80s, even artists that maybe I didn't grow up listening to, but knowing their style and understanding where the lyricism comes from and stems from, it still made me appreciate what they were contributing to hip hop and how it is today. I may not always like fluidly listen to them all the time, but I always say this, it still makes me appreciate what they've done for hip hop. It's just
Yeah.
you can't deny you can't deny what they've done. You don't have to be a big fan, but you can't deny what they've done. In
Right.
in, in my
You can
sense.
always learn from it too. You don't have to
Hmm.
adopt a certain style. You don't have to try to be someone else, but you can appreciate it and learn from it. And it can't if you can't find something within someone else that you can learn from, then I don't know, maybe you're not being open minded enough. And definitely sounds like you really, when it came to writing lyrics, were um, trying to improve by looking at how other people did it. And that's not biting, that's not copying, that is respecting, standing those who came before and trying to
Exactly.
take that and make your own thing out of it. And I think there's nothing wrong. It's not biting or do something word for word or you copy it like to a T.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
how does anything ever get developed or created? It wasn't like the first person started it, but it became better because the next person learned from that person and improved upon it. And it's just life. So
Yeah, they take it here and then they move it here, but then they add something else, and it's still different. It's in that person's style, but it's still owed and respected over here. But it's just like, okay, and that's only, again, that's only an ode and respecting to the person who created it. It's like you influence something else that went in a different direction, but was founded from what you did. Like,
yep.
especially nowadays, like no one's recreating the wheel here. It's just, stemming from, what we've grown up with, what we've been influenced with, and just made it our own in our own sense. If you do it, like you said, if you do it right, you create it into your own, and you just move from there, and that's just how it is.
Yep. Totally agree.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy how music has evolved, so much. And like we talk about, it's going to be interesting to see 10, 15 years, like where, how Boston, Massachusetts, and everything out of New England just like takes music and just expands it and evolves it even further. Like, I'm excited to see it, because again, to attest to, what we've been talking about, kind of the main theme is just that sense of community and networking, and people wanting to find that growth and build and add, skill sets, and it's not just the instant gratification type of thing. you know it's gonna be a super dope thing to see moving forward.
Yeah, there are people that are putting in a lot of hard work, and I think a lot of them, whether they really know it or not, they had some sort of influence from somebody else, and now they're influencing other people. And like, if you don't have a role model, you don't have like a mentor in anything in life, I feel like you gotta get one. And it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
somebody that you sit with for 5 hours a day and just talk. It can
Hmm.
be someone who supports you, is somebody who you can watch, you learn visually, or you just need, a little boost to your self-esteem. To have a mentor, a role model, somebody to lean on to ask questions, or to just kind of give you those answers that you can't find on YouTube or you can't find
Hmm.
wherever you're looking for it. People with experience are the people who are creating this growth and the growth going forward. So, I mean, 10, 15 years from now, you might have like a little branch that comes from you, whether it's, you know, artists, a group, or maybe other producer, or who knows. They can all say that they
Hmm.
looked at you for some guidance here and there, or, you know, maybe that was the problem with the scene like 20 years ago. Maybe there weren't enough people that were mentoring. People thought they had to do it themselves. It's probably such an old school way of thinking. People just like don't ask for help.
Hmm.
Men especially don't think it's cool. I could just do it myself.
Yeah.
It's like, you can. Do you want to do it?
You're right.
Do you want it to take your whole life, or do you want to put the work in but have the proper guidance? And I think there's more people out there now that can give that proper guidance, and I think it should be exponentially like growing. We're hoping for that, and I think that's what we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, both of us being, I know from personal experience, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, especially like working with kids, like how
Right.
important it is to have that kind of role model, and be that person that the kids can go to, if they have questions or whatever. It's like it's such a gratifying feeling being able to support kids, and you know I used to go to the same summer camp that, I work at now, and it's like I see the other side, and I was, definitely grateful for all the counselors and stuff that, you know, just played sports with me, or like somebody that I could talk to or whatever, encouraged me to do things that I wanted to do, encouraged me to play basketball, encouraged me to, just keep pushing forward. Like those are things that I continue to remember. And then now being on the flip side, I'm like, yo, like I understand that value, and like I have to give like 110% of making sure that, whatever I'm giving only boosts and motivates, kids. And, again, it just applies to, music as well too. It's like, if I'm doing this for the kids, like, I have to apply that to every aspect of my life, whether it's my marriage, whether it's, you know, my job, whether it's music, friendships, or whatever. Like, I have to give 110%. Am I always at 110%? No, I'm human. I admit that. But, my mindset is always just making sure to get back up to that 110% and making sure that I'm, giving back to those people that, really deserve it.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And I don't know. Some people think about. I mean, I hear it a lot. What's your legacy? The most important thing, I think, as far as I'm concerned, if people want to talk about legacies and this and that, just when it comes to kids or people that you mentor or people that you're around, if you're a genuine person and you do the right thing, I think that rubs off on people.
Hmm.
I don't know what the old saying. There's a saying though, and it goes something like, "Be that person for someone that you needed growing up." I'm probably not saying it
Yeah,
the right
yeah,
way,
yeah.
but like you know what you needed when you were growing up, whatever
Hmm.
and you know what you had and you know what you didn't have. So if you have the opportunity to provide what you didn't have for somebody else, whether it's advice or just someone to just be there and listen,
Hmm.
um, that's just a very healthy thing for someone to do. Because like I was saying before, don't think I still don't think people are comfortable asking for help or asking for advice
Hmm.
or like I think like you said earlier, being vulnerable, um,
Yeah.
putting yourself out there. People are afraid to fail. People are afraid of not hearing what they want to hear. But sometimes there are so many barriers of entry for people to get through just to be themselves. If you can break all those barriers down and show somebody like genuinely, like this is who I am. Like I think people would be more comfortable being themselves if they saw that in the people that they looked up to. So yeah, I'm definitely one of those people. I didn't want to ask for help. I definitely
Yeah.
thought I could do things all by myself, and then I realized I couldn't. So now I'm very adamant with my own kids and with the kids. I just like being honest with what you need, um, being honest with whatever your feelings are, because you can't really change how you feel at something in the moment. It takes time.
Hmm.
So it's okay
For sure.
to be mad. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to feel like you failed. Um, the question is, how are you going to bounce back from it? And
Hmm.
kids are resilient. Um, People as a whole can be resilient, but they need to be brave enough to be resilient. They need to know that there are people out there in the same position, that have the same fears, that have the same, anxieties. Um, because if you if you don't realize that other people have those feelings, you're probably just gonna keep that in. And if
Hmm.
nobody's there for you to open up to, um, how are you ever gonna talk about those feelings? And I, I hate the old school, like, you rub some dirt on it, or you're a
Yeah.
man. It's cool, but does it get you nowhere? It doesn't get you anywhere. It might make you
Hmm.
look cool in front of certain people, but the people who you look cool in front of, or the people who think you're a goof, like, are they gonna be there for you when you have a hard time, when you really, really need it? Probably
Right.
not. Probably not.
It's going to be a shocker
So
to them. It's going to be a
yeah,
shocker to them.
and it's funny, and it goes for every aspect of your life, whether it's music or just how to handle a relationship, or like you said, like being with your wife in a marriage, or with kids. Like you can't really do any of that stuff on your own, and you can't expect anybody else to do that stuff on their own. And it goes back to network. It does go back. I think that the main thing that if anybody who watches this wants to get from me, how I feel, like support is the most important thing that you can do for someone else, whether it's supporting their music, supporting their well-being.
It doesn't
It
make you
doesn't
look
cost a
weak.
lot. Most of the time it's free. You know, sending a text to somebody that you haven't talked to in a while, see someone struggling out there,
Huge,
maybe
huge.
reach out, connect, and I think that just makes a world. It makes the world a better place. I mean, do we want to live in a world where you know you have to be this way, or you have to have a certain image for people to respect you? I would 100% say no. I think being vulnerable, being genuine, um, being supportive, and then accepting support as well, because I think that's a huge thing. You can be a supportive person, um, but if you're not allowing people to support you, you're kind of cutting off that two-way support system. So you support them, they support you, and I don't know. I just think a lot of things in life would be so much easier if people would just, just stop to just take a second and help,
Yeah.
or let someone help you if you need help. It's not going to judge you for needing help. I hope not. Some people do, but I
Right.
really want to.
And it's like a lot of people just feel like it's going to make them look weak, and that's not the case.
No.
If anything, most of the artists, most of the people that I am, either friends with, have been friends with, look up to, admire, I've been able to see their downfalls, their failures, their mistakes, their flops, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing how they've come through it. you know I think there's so much more value in seeing the fact that somebody actually is human, and just understanding, like, dude, like, you don't have to be that rock solid bulletproof dude. Like, if people only realized how much more people are attracted to people actually being themselves
Mm-hmm.
than a false version of themselves,
Right.
it would drastically change everything. But people,
Yeah.
unfortunately, some people still have that expectation that they need to be something for people to like them, when it's like, dude, like, we just want to know you for who you are. And I think, that'll save on, like, one, it'll make the world a better place, and two, you see all these, like, scandals and stuff that, like, people, oh, I didn't know anything, I didn't know that about that person, I didn't know they were doing that, I didn't know they were doing this. It's like, yeah, because they probably weren't being honest with who they were. and
Right.
and again, if you're trying to make a name of yourself, you're going to be out in the spotlight, and they're not sharing the true selves to the public. You're in the public eye, so you're sharing it to the public. So
Right.
you're
And you
not
can't be
you're not
afraid. I
being
mean,
authentic.
right. And you shouldn't be afraid to be yourself, because ultimately your real is going to come out at some point anyway. So why hide it?
Hmm.
Or just be genuine. And I think people will be genuine with you. I think a lot of the times what I find is people are afraid to be judged because they see how other people are judging certain people. So I know I can think of millions of times in my life growing up, whether it was high school, middle school. Um, you're in a group of friends and they're talking bad about somebody, and instead of sticking up for that person, you just kind of go along with it because you don't want to be the next one to be attacked or
Yep.
judged or whatever. And that's kind of a helpless feeling sometimes when you're in a circle like that. And those are the trials and tribulations of growing up. So I think a lot of people do stay reserved and they're afraid to be judged. And I think that's
Yep.
a huge mental hurdle to get over. And sometimes it takes you till you're almost 40 years old to get to a point in your life where you're like, you know what? I don't have to put up this front anymore. Well, yeah, you can tell people when you're upset. You can tell people when you're just not interested in something instead of trying to please everybody. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we could probably do like 5 podcasts on just this subject
Oh,
alone.
100%,
It's
100%.
it goes on forever because it really dives deep into who people are. And it doesn't matter what walk, doesn't matter if you're a hip hop artist, doesn't you could be a teacher, could be an astrophysicist. Everybody has something that they're self-conscious about, and
Hmm.
everybody opportunity to let you down. And I find when you finally do get to the point and you can just accept the judgment for however it comes and you can work past it, I think it's a very healthy step in just being a person.
Yeah, one of the things I've learned is like you can't be hurt by a lie, because at the end of the day, like, it's not true. So why, even if people are telling you, why let it affect you if it's a lie anyways? Just, just go off what is true and honest and genuine and authentic. And everything, is it always going to be easy? No, but it's going to be easier on you
It will,
in the
because
long
then
run.
I and to go off that part, I think it will definitely separate the real people in your life from the fake people. So it's like once you do let your guard down and maybe some of those fake people move on, or you just start seeing people's true colors for what you thought they were and what they actually are, it brings a lot of clarity to a lot of things. And yeah, I know this podcast is centered around music and mental health and fitness. And I think it really all goes hand together. Um,
1,000%,
you,
1,000%.
you are you going to be good at music if you don't have good mental health? You mean you could be, but how long are you going to sustain it for before you feel like everything's
Right.
crashing down on you? So I think it's
Hmm.
like having a good baseline with your mental health is really it's key and it's important. Um, and that helps you develop those relationships that eventually will try to get you to where you want to go. And along the way, you support other people. So like how it's such a win-win to just be genuine.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it really doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
Oh man, I mean, we could go for hours and hours, man. This is good
We
stuff.
definitely could. I mean, we're both in the
Um,
unique position where we're working with kids. So you were those kids at one point, and now you're on the other side, like teaching, and you can choose to BS them or be genuine and really teach the younger, the next generation of like what it's like to be real, a real
mhm.
person. And if if I'm not super successful personally or financially, if I can help one or two people along my journey, get them to where they want to be,
All
I, I, that would make me feel good. And I know that there are those kids out there. I've been doing this since 1997.
oh
So
wow.
some of those people that I worked with way back then are now in college, are actually now in their 30s, have families of their own. So whatever small little part I might have had in that, if at all, good, because it takes a village, and that's not an understatement. That's an actual real life thing, whether people want to believe it or not. Like your surroundings, your environment, as much as your parents might try to like give you what you need, you're still gonna eventually get out and get away from that, out of that
Hmm.
bubble. And if you're surrounding yourself with people who are genuine and care, that's the right direction to go if you want to be seen as an adult.
Yeah, you got that firm foundation already.
Yeah. I mean,
For sure.
some of the things I hear these kids say nowadays, I want to be like, listen, it's not true.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
not
seriously.
true.
Seriously.
But yeah, you just gotta be careful the way you say it, because certain parents will be like, "What?"
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you
Oh
just gotta be
yeah.
careful. You gotta be careful. I'm sure you know that. Sometimes you gotta mince your words, or you can't really give it to them 100. You
Mm-hmm.
can be like 98, 97.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
What was it? There was oh god, this was back when like Uchiwali was out, when Nas was doing his thing in the early 2000s. There was a girl that first of all, I don't know why she was allowed to listen to music at that age. She might have been like 10 or 11. She's like, that song's about beat girls, and he was talking about beating it up, like having sex, like beating it up.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know what? Yeah, it's probably not good that he talks about that, but it's not exactly what it means. Like,
Yeah, you gotta
I didn't
yeah,
want
you
to say
gotta
anything at that point, but I'm like, all right, it doesn't mean you must actually beat someone up, but I'm gonna leave that for your mom to
still
talk
not
to you about.
appropriate. Yeah. Yeah.
It's still not appropriate, but
Right.
it was funny. I just had to like bite my. I'm like, I can't tell her what it's really about.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, definitely have many of those conversations for sure. For sure. So what I like to do, before we wrap, this has been such a dope conversation. Again, we could go on for hours and hours and hours about what we're talking about. But one thing that I do always try to ask my guests before we depart is, what is the best advice that you've been given so far? And that can be life advice, that can be producer advice, that can be whatever advice you feel and deem necessary. I know I put people in the hot box sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? I was kind of preparing for a question like that earlier, and of course now I'm like, whoa, what did I actually say in my fake conversation with you earlier?
Happens to me all the time.
Best piece of advice would probably be, I mean, be genuine. Be
Hmm.
be genuine. I mean, I
Yeah,
think we probably already said it 100 times, but
it's
it
important. It's
doesn't
important.
serve you in the term or the long run not being genuine, because you can't sustain being fake. And if you do, people figure it out. So
Hmm.
they're gonna avoid you once they realize like what you really are. So if you can just be genuine, put in all the hard work that's required, listen to other people, don't just think you know it all. Step out of your comfort zone. So out of those like 4 or 5 things I just said, I would still go being genuine though. Um,
Hmm.
because all that other stuff, if you can do it, but if you're not doing it genuinely, it's gonna crumble at some point, you know.
I feel like you would lose, and this is gonna make sense. I was actually just thinking about this as you were talking. You're actually gonna lose more people than you gained by not being genuine,
Exactly.
because it's just gonna, like, to just always attest to what you said, it's gonna trickle down, so you're gonna lose the people that you weren't being genuine with, but then other people who may not have been in your fan base, your friend group, whatever, are also gonna recognize this dude's really not a genuine person. I don't want to rock with him either. So then now there's all those people that have just domino affected, because you couldn't even keep it real with the people that you were cool with. Like, if you can't keep it real with the people that you was cool with, who's to say what you gonna do with the people that you
And
don't even know?
no one's gonna trust. No one trusts that. I mean, some people are good at it. Some people can fake it. Mm. and do that. But I've never seen someone sustain it long enough where someone didn't figure it out or didn't, affect them in an adverse way. And sometimes be genuine means showing people that you make mistakes, and sometimes you can be a jackass and screw up.
Yep, for sure.
Because if you have this persona where you're perfect and nothing ever goes wrong, and people see you like crack under pressure in real life, and they're like, "Oh, this it's not the person that I thought he was, and he's losing his mind. He's just not keeping it together." Like that's kind of contradictory to everything I thought about this person. They're not going to trust you, but you can show yourself being vulnerable and have real conversations with people and give your honest opinion and not be like super judgmental and just I'm offering this point of view, you're offering this point of view, and we can share that together and be genuine. It's healthy. It's very healthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. We're definitely gonna have to have you on like another
Yeah,
another show,
bro,
because we
we're just scratching the surface.
seriously, but we both know we live in a world of short attention spans sometimes, and
We do.
uh but definitely want to get you on for another show. This is, like you said, like we've definitely only scratched the surface. Um, for what we've been talking about, there's plenty more to come, and we'll definitely make sure to continue to share that stuff. Really quick, like, what are some things that you have going on as far as, if there's anything musically that you got coming up? How can people, contact you for beats, or just to, get to know who Scotty Flippin is?
Well, I'll tell you, I have an EP with somebody. I don't want to say who it is
Dope.
because I don't want to kind of throw them under the bus.
That's
But the
fair.
EP has kind of been sitting on the shelf for about 10 months, so I don't know when
Know that
it's
feeling.
coming out. But I've been working with it's in YN Prop. Um, he had the For Show single that came out about a month and a half ago. I've given him a ton of beats. I know he's a new dad himself right now, so he's kind of trying to balance that, artist, dad life, which, sometimes, especially when they're really, really young, it messes up your whole schedule. So um, I'm really happy for him. And then whenever we get to work and do some more stuff together, I'd be really excited for when some of that stuff comes out. I mean, I'm constantly working with Demon's Disciple.
Yep.
He's another person that I talk to him almost every day. I've never met him in person. I consider him a friend. He considers me a friend. He does a ton of shows, so I'm hoping to get out to a couple of them and see him. But he's just a really nice guy. I like his story and everything he's been through. And he's another one. He's genuine. He's put his whole life out there for everyone. Judge him or don't judge him. The guy's not afraid to tell you where he's at and some dark places and where he's going.
Yeah,
Everything's
for
looking
sure.
good for him. But yeah, there's like a lot of local people, and I'm trying to work. Actually, I'm trying to finish up a CD. I can't believe I just said a CD. Like 20 years ago, I was working on a CD. No, I've been working on just an album.
Word.
Speed bumps with people, just like sending beats out, never getting anything back, or getting stuff back and having to be like, that's not what I wanted. So if I'm gonna put on, I want it to be good. And I've seen a lot of other producer
Yeah.
albums in the last couple of years, and having all the different artists on it makes it. I think it's really cool, and that's something I've been working on since 2019, and it's now 2022, and I've had to scrap it like 3 different times. So
I
within
know
the
the
next
feeling,
10
man.
years, hopefully this comes out. But other
I
than
know the
that,
feeling, man.
I just try to make beats. Eventually, I'll get my website. I have my website, but I've been neglecting that. I've been neglecting a lot of things musically that I should be doing. But to find me, I mean, it's Instagram at Scotty Flippin, Facebook at Scotty Flippin, SoundCloud, Audio Mac. I think everything's at Scotty Flippin at YouTube. I just need to post more. I'm not gonna lie. If you go on my pages, you'll think that I haven't been active in like 2 years, but I have been. I like to comment and I like to follow and I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to share stuff. I just need to start doing some of my own posting. But yeah, I mean, I think if you were just to go on any of the searches on any of the social media and you just type in Scotty Flippin, you would find me.
Word up, word up. So yeah, so anybody watching now, anybody watching later, make sure that you check this man out. He's got a lot of good stuff that's cooking up, and just a genuine, like we've been talking, just a genuine person who's here just to help and support and build people up. We've only scratched the surface here on this edition of Right Mind Wednesdays. But we're going to wrap up for tonight. I thank everybody for tuning in, or those that will tune in a little bit later. Scotty, I want to thank you for coming in and just having a conversation with me, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored that you had me on. Like I said, it's my first podcast, so
So,
thanks for easy on me.
no worries, no worries. We're definitely going to dive into some more stuff in the
Yeah,
near future.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I'll be definitely excited and looking forward to that.
All right. I really
But
appreciate it.
until for sure, man, absolutely, anytime. But until next time, my name is Jay Faith. This is Scotty Flippin, and this is Right Mind Wednesdays. We'll catch y'all next time. Later.
Thank you.